Hello and welcome to another episode of FinTech Focus TV with me, Toby. Today, and I've been excited about this one for a while, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Roger from ETPLink. How are you?
Hey Toby, nice to see you. Thanks for having me in.
Listen, wonderful to have you in. We met a few months ago and I was really charmed by the story. I think you guys are doing something amazing. You were very passionate about talking about that. One of the things I love on this show, as I mentioned to you beforehand, is where I'm speaking to people who genuinely love what they're doing, and that absolutely shone out in our meeting. And I'm really excited to have you back here today to talk about it and expand on it a little bit further. So I always start, we've got a lot to cover today, lots of interesting things that you guys are doing in a really, I think, quite fascinating space. But before we do that, I always ask people to give a bit of an intro on themselves, your background, and then the company as well. So the floor's yours.
Cool, thanks Toby. So I'm Roger Balch, I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at ETPLink. The business has been around since 2021, end of 2021. We were incorporated. The platform went live in 2022. We're effectively trying to homogenize, standardize the ETF create redeem process using distributed ledger technology and smart contracts to do so. So if I paint the picture a little bit about the ETF industry itself, there's now almost 15,000 products from over 800 providers, and it's growing at a fantastic pace. It really
Sounds
is.
like it.
There are kind of many traditional mutual fund managers that are looking to get into the space to access new investor audiences, and particularly kind of around the active space. They're looking to use some of their expertise to utilize the ETF wrapper, as I said, to offer new investment products to their clients. What's kind of come with that is, to be honest, our belief is that the technology that's supporting the ETF primary market has not kept pace with that growth of AUM. So it's a pretty kind of fragmented and unwieldy and error-prone segment of the market. It's also quite unloved, to be honest. Like the secondary market itself is pretty well automated. If you and I wanted to go and buy an ETF, we'd go through our broker, who would typically kind of go to the exchange or an RFQ platform, and often those orders of ours that are kind of going to market will end up facing a market maker. And if we kind of think about events, political events or elections that might drive kind of bullish sentiment, and the idea that you or I, for example, might take a bullish view on equities or crypto or something like that, that ends up kind of building a short position for the ETF market makers, that would result in them potentially going to the fund to create the units of the ETF themselves, because these are open-ended, in order to meet their settlement obligations come settlement date. And they obviously can do that through the creation and redemption process. In Europe alone, there's over kind of 90 issuers. And typically you tend to find that the largest issuers will have their own proprietary creation and redemption platform. Then perhaps the middle to smaller segment of the ETF issuer market might use their ETF custodians as a kind of part of a bundled service offering, where they'll use the creation and redemption platform provided by their custodians, which immediately kind of paints the picture of there being an awful lot of create redeem platforms for the authorized participants to place their instructions with. An ETPLink is ultimately looking to automate and streamline and aggregate and homogenize that ETF creation redemption process, as I said, using distributed ledger technology and smart contracts via a single point of access, so a user interface and also API, to improve the processes for the authorized participants in a standardized way, but also to provide forward-looking and flexible technology to the issuers and the custodians that we're actively seeking to work with our platform. So In the US, it's a different market again. Again, there's a plethora of platforms. In APAC, there's also kind of different mechanisms. So there's portals. In some instances, there's emails that are used to facilitate these instructions.
Yeah.
So it paints a picture. Yeah, well, exactly. It paints a picture of quite a complex world that we think nowadays, given how popular ETFs are, should be addressed with really great technology.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the overwhelming features of the conversations I have on this show. We do live in a complex industry, in a complex world. There's more and more stuff in there, and we're looking for more and more efficiency and productivity from everything we're looking at. You mentioned there so many different parts to dive into, but an awful lot of different variations of doing business, global differentiations in how that the process goes through. And I love seeing opportunities where technology can come in that and solve problems around it. So tell us a little bit about how you've come in there to the stance and the tech which you're using to solve that issue.
Yeah, so we're the world's first DLT platform and using smart contracts to address the ETF creation redemption problem. We use an open enterprise grade distributed ledger foundation that, to be honest, brings all the benefits that people know and love about DLT. So the concept of auditability, immutability, consensus mechanisms, and flexibility, customization. But the real kind of practical benefit of our technological solution is effectively we can provide a bespoke and customized solution to each of our clients because of the sub-network nature of distributed ledger technology. If you're using traditional database server systems and things like that, it's certainly more challenging. So if you have more of a kind of one-size-fits-all approach, any enhancements or developments that you make to that platform impact the whole platform. And whereas with distributed ledger technology and this concept of private channels and subnetworks allows us to basically deploy bespoke features to each channel without it having any impact on other kind of subsequent subnetworks that we have on the wider network. It allows us to deploy new features in a really kind of a rapid way and implement things that don't come with kind of the complexities of more traditional server systems and things like that.
Yeah. And I think the DLT world is a fascinating world for me because obviously there's been various waves of encouragement into the space and I guess appetite at the same sort of region, and you would have thought that everyone would move to utilising it more heavily. And for various different reasons, that sort of ebbed and flowed a little bit. I find it really interesting that you guys are there and pioneering in a space within it. Talk to us about the whole thought process around why hitching the wagon to DLT technology.
So we are of the belief that in 5 to 10 years' time, distributed ledger technology will be more widely adopted in financial markets. Obviously, the US went T+1 last year. Europe is going to go T+1 in 2027. I think APAC will probably likely follow suit thereafter. And subsequently, we believe that ultimately we may be in a scenario where settlements are being affected on a T0 basis. And to facilitate T0, it could well be the scenario that distributed ledger technology is being required to facilitate that.
Makes sense.
And because we're using DLT as our technological foundation, we will be able to interoperate cross ledgers in a way that we think will offer seamless operations across the financial markets. So from a kind of visionary perspective, that's one of the main long-term visions around why we chose the technology to do it, alongside the practical benefits that you see now that I described earlier.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting point, isn't it? I like seeing people skating to where the puck's going, and when you're putting that sort of, not bet, I think education around, educated insight and foresight into where things are heading, that creates quite an opportunistic piece for you to be ahead of the game. And
And to be honest, when people access our platform today, they don't see the foundation that it sits on. To all intents and purposes, it just looks like a super duper ETF create redeem platform, but it's that backbone and technological framework that adds kind of advanced security and real benefits to using the solution, that we think as the world moves kind of towards us almost, from a DLT perspective, will position us really quite nicely. And that's one of the main reasons why we wanted to use next generation technology to do it.
And it's an interesting thing for you because obviously your background, as far as I'm aware, has been from an institutional environment. Coming over to this, what was it that sort of attracted you? What made you say that this is something I need to be involved in?
So I don't think there'll be many people in the industry at all who think that this particular part of the industry, the ETF primary market, everyone knows that it needs to be addressed. So first and foremost,
which is always a great spot to be.
I knew that the problem statement was there. Then it's a case of working with great people with great experience of the ETF industry and the operational plumbings that come with it. Great technology, which we've already touched on, and excellent technologists to implement and execute upon your ideas. So for me, it was quite easy. Clearly, my background, I used to work at the stock exchange, the London Stock Exchange, and then after that, I worked in prime brokerage and emerging markets broker. So I feel like I've always had quite an entrepreneurial spirit about me. It was quite a big step, obviously, to go and start this, but along with the co-founders. But I've loved it. It's really great, and I feel like we're only just getting started, even though we've got almost 40 counterparties working with us now, and we've got some really interesting and exciting projects ahead. I'm really passionate about it, to be honest.
Well, that's what I said when I first met you.
I mean, it does genuinely feel like we're just getting started, and there's so much more we can do. And obviously, the ETF space today is already significant. And it's only going to get bigger as more and more mutual traditional managers come to the space, and more innovative products are launched from existing issuers and things like that. So the ETF industry is only going one way, that's for sure.
And what drives that? I mean, you touched on it a little bit beforehand, but obviously the ETF industry going one way, and you talked about the sort of rise of it. What's the story behind this inexorable rise?
Well, so ETFs themselves bring many benefits. So transparency, liquidity, cost efficiency. There's some tax benefits as well there.
So all the words that are important at the moment in any business.
And so they're becoming increasingly attractive to investors. Certainly the next generation of investors certainly have a very keen interest in ETFs. So young people in particular are very interested in investing in ETFs. So there's many benefits to the ETF wrapper itself, which is why you're seeing kind of the proliferation of active products, and as I said, more and more traditional mutual fund managers coming into the space.
Superb. And you mentioned, touched on it just beforehand, about the sort of growth of the business and some of the clients that you've onboarded, 40 venues. Did you mention?
We're working with almost 40 counterparties now. We have a really interesting project ongoing in APAC. We'll also be going into some new regions next year, which we're excited about based on existing conversations that we're having. So it feels like we're only just getting started.
Exactly.
And because it's global in its nature, and because of one of the main benefits, again, of distributed ledger technology is it's 24/7 uptime, which is perfectly suited to the global nature of the ETF industry. It's only going to go one way.
And you being sat here in the middle of that gives you the opportunity to go left and right, east and west.
I mean, the really lovely thing about the initiative is how many different organisation types that we're working with. So we're working with authorised participants who are clearly the entities authorised to place these creation and redemption instructions. We're working with the issuers or fund managers themselves that are obviously listing and launching these products. We're working with fund administrators we're working with custodians, we're working with exchanges. It really is kind of very much at the center of the financial marketplace, which kind of takes me back to when I worked at the London Stock Exchange. So it's great to kind of have that important role within the industry and ultimately bring benefits to the end investors, because there's many cost efficiencies that can be had and operational benefits to using technology such as ours.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's look forward a little bit. Tell me what it looks like for you. So you mentioned there to start the story. What's the big vision for the organisation?
Well, ultimately, we want to be the leading platform for the ETF primary market globally.
Yeah.
And we've made good strides in that regard. We obviously started in EMEA just because we were domiciled here, and we actually started in the crypto ETP space because it was obviously the newest asset class. And there wasn't existing platforms, and this is very much a multi-sided network platform. But certainly Europe, we envisage that we'll continue picking up customers here. APAC is going to be a fundamentally very interesting market for us, and there's a huge amount of growth there. And ultimately, we will be looking to go live in North America as well with time. So. Just very excited about kind of being able to cover those 3 time zones seamlessly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a case of just picking up new clients and expanding and growing the network, and getting more and more users on the platform.
And you mentioned sort of becoming that sort of number one in the space. Why is it that's going to happen? What is it about the business there that makes you go? I mean, obviously you've spoken about a lot there about world's first and what you're doing, and it makes absolute sense. And I think when you're talking about, we joked about it beforehand, using tech to streamline processes is one of those great things, which seems the obvious thing to do. It seems like the easy thing to do. It seems like something which everyone said, but it actually, common sense and common practice are two quite different things at various different stages. But if people are out there watching this at the moment and thinking, right, this resonates with me, and I've got the competition out there at the same sort of stage who I'm also speaking to, why are they choosing you? What's the reasons for doing that?
Well, I think there's multiple reasons really. One is the ETF experience within our team. So we have some really deep understanding of the operational plumbing that comes with the ETF primary market. So we have colleagues that have worked in the ETF industry for 20 plus years at issuers. So building and structuring products, and then the operational plumbing that comes with the primary market itself. We have experience within our co-founders of people who have experienced this problem statement firsthand. So having worked at trading businesses, trading ETFs in the secondary and primary markets. So they have a real deep understanding of where we need to go and what it is we need to build. And then business people and exchange people like myself, who have good experience of building businesses. Couple that experience with the technologists that we have and the DLT Foundation, and the fact that we're able to build customized solutions to go further down the investment management process with our clients, I think positions us really nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so pleased you said that, because look, I am unsurprisingly a massive believer in the quality of team, and I speak to VCs and startup founders and all day every day and have done for 25 years, and I think the more and more I have those conversations, the more and more I recognise that success and failure is based around the people who you bring into it, which doesn't sound revolutionary. But when you're sat there, as you say, in an industry which requires transparency, trust and confidence, and you can talk about that sort of setup of the team that you've just described there, alongside really sharp technology, on top of that, making things as easy as possible for people to do it, to operate in a complex world. That to me sounds like a great recipe for a successful business.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately we're trying to build solutions that allow our clients to do more with less. And everyone in the financial
everyone needs.
I mean, ultimately everyone in the financial markets these days are looking for operational efficiencies. In the ETF industry itself, there's huge margin compression. And so having kind of innovative, flexible, robust solutions like ours allows our clients to focus on what they do best.
Yeah.
So building innovative products and growing their AUM, and allowing us to deal with kind of the unloved part of the industry that just makes their job easier from a day-to-day perspective. They don't need to worry about it. They just focus on growth. And we're there really to help facilitate them do that.
That sounds fantastic. So people who are watching this, listening, excited about what you're talking about, sharing your passion, what's the best way for them to reach out and get in touch with you?
Well, available kind of info@etplink.com.
We'll tag it on LinkedIn, obviously.
Yeah, LinkedIn. We're also doing some thought leadership pieces at the moment. So people will see us more and more out there. So yeah, would love to hear from any and all that are interested in hearing more about our solution.
Roger, well, I've loved hearing about it today. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing that.
Thanks,
and thank you all for watching. We will see you soon on the next episode of FinTech Focus TV. Thanks a lot.